Hey guys, welcome to week 3. I've just got a real quick video for you to kind of help you with what's going on this week. The first thing is this week is mainly your SA2 proctor. That means you had to have an appointment to go into a proctored site and take this exam, which is technically our SA2. We will have a couple of things to do this week that reference SA3. But I will give you information more about that sometime today. What I'm doing right here is just giving you an overview of SA2, your proctored. Guys, there's really no way to prepare for this exam except through watching the film Misery. If you've watched Misery probably more than once, you're going to be fine. What you're doing here is a film review. You're not doing a film review in the sense that it looks like you're getting paid to give it a good one. You're being objective, you're being fair, and you're telling your audience whether this is a film that they would want to see themselves, okay? One thing you will need to pay attention to is the instructions when you get to the test. I have given you a lot of instructions. I tell you what to write in every paragraph. It's a typical 5-paragraph essay with intro, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. You'll have 5 separate paragraphs. I tell you things to do in each one. I've also included examples of an intro using another film, an example of a body paragraph, and also an example of a conclusion. Okay, so it's going to be really important that you actually pay attention to those details and reference them as you are writing your own essay. Okay, another thing is I'm going to tell you some things to be thinking about. You can write these things down as you watch the film if you take the test later this week, but please remember you can't bring anything into the test. No notes, no note cards, nothing like that. It's just your knowledge from the film. So know that when I grade it, I'm looking at, I know those things too. I know you didn't have source cards or anything like that to look at as you take this test. But I will be looking, do you follow the directions? Do you seem to have had knowledge of the film, watched it carefully, that kind of thing. So let me just briefly go through some of the instructions. I put on here when it was produced, the movie. I talk about Kathy Bates, who plays Annie Wilkes. I talk about Paul Sheldon, James Caan played him. Those names are going to be listed there so that you can talk about them intelligently. In other words, you won't say the woman who abducted the writer. You can actually use them, and you can say things like Kathy Bates, the actress who portrayed Annie Wilkes. Okay, those things are written up there for you, and so I expect you to use those in your essay. All right, intro, you're really just introducing the film. There's a slight plot commentary there, like you give me 1 to 2 sentences, no more, of the plot. You would introduce the characters. I give you a sample thesis that you may use, or you may change it up to work with yours. Okay. Body paragraph 1 is really a plot summary of the film, okay? It's more detailed. Now, it's not so specific that you say Paul Sheldon in scene number 3 had on a blue and white striped shirt with a hospital gown. You don't have to be that detailed, but you want to give the impression that you know the film. Also, you can assume that the person reading this has a good working knowledge of the film, so you don't have to worry about spoilers. Okay, that would you can pretend that your review would have a thing at the beginning that said, don't read this if you haven't seen the film. Okay, so you just assume that you can give out information that would be interesting to the film. Okay. Body paragraph 2, you're going to review the performances of your main characters. So that would either be Kathy Bates or James Caan. Okay, those are the actors' names, and then of course Annie would be for Kathy, and Paul Sheldon would be for James Caan. You can do one, or you can do both of the characters. Either way, you're really looking at the actors and how they portrayed. How did they contribute to the film? How did they make the film better? I mean, Annie Wilkes is a sociopath. So how is Kathy's portrayal make that even more so? Okay, a good part of this film. It just gives you some examples, like, do you think anything about the actor's performance could have been improved? One thing you'll need to know is have some scenes in mind. Where Annie Wilkes was a main character, main focus of a scene. That kind of thing is something you may want to have a thought before you go into it. Body paragraph 3, you're looking at technical components. Think of that as like special effects. What were things in there that made it seem interesting? Sounds or costumes, the makeup, anything that stands out to you. So that's anything that's not an actor's portrayal. Okay, it can be absolutely anything. Decoration, what our house looks like, what the bed looks like, anything like that. And examples. Okay, so you need ideas of the film and where those things were put into play and how they made the film better or worse. And then your conclusion paragraph is really your final thoughts of the film as a whole. Okay, so what did you think? Would you recommend this to a friend, and why or why not? So you can pretty much have any opinion here, but you need to explain why. You just need to back it up. Here you can use I, like I thought this, I believe this film. That's fine. Don't go crazy with it though. And throughout most of your essay, you don't put that in there. You are a professional reviewer, so keep the use of I minimal and not into your last paragraph, and don't use you at all. Okay, the viewer, the audience, or things you could say. So really, guys, the key to this is going to be simply reading the directions. The other part to mention is just their student examples. So read through those so you at least have some ideas. Don't copy their wording. Just use it as a guide for yourself. The last thing to mention is format is a big deal with all our other essays. But here, you're technically writing your essay in a quiz format, in a text box. So what the main thing I'm looking for is, your paragraphs. Do you enter for the next paragraph kind of thing? It's going to be single spaced. You're not worried about that, but you'll still have a heading. There'll be instructions on what you do in a title, but things like indenting perfectly or trying to double space or trying to find Times New Roman, those are things that are not going to be that important. It is going to be 500 to 700 words, okay? So you need to be inside that range. It's a little shorter than your normals. So if you're 600 words, that's great. 300 to 400, you're not going to have a great grade, okay? So make sure word count is there, and you can kind of see it on the screen as well, okay? You just don't want it to be super short. You have any questions, feel free to email me. And I think if you go in having a good knowledge of the film and have watched it, you'll be fine, okay? I'll give more directions later about this week, and good luck this week. All right, bye.